I broke up with my fiancée because her family was making our life a living hell. After a few weeks, she was no longer there, and I found out about a horrible web of affairs and lies that broke up our whole group of friends. We've been together for 4 years and engaged for 7 months. We're making plans for a wedding in the autumn of 2019. To put it simply, her childhood was very bad and abusive. Her parents were crazy narcissists, and her 2 brothers blamed her for their problems. When she turned 18, she was abused and kicked out of school. In spite of that, she was a good student and worked hard. With a few grants and a part-time job, she has a great job and can take care of herself pretty well. The problem was that she was still talking to her family. There is only one thing that has changed: they count on her more for money now than they did before. They like slowly getting back into her life and using her feelings to force her to give them help or anything else they can. They also don't like it. They are rude and cocky, and they like being a bother. She can't say no to me. It doesn't matter what mean things they say or how freely they try to scare her. I've always known about her family history and been there for her when things got tough. But in the past year or 2, they've become a lot more cocky and silly. More often they come over to our house. These people make a lot of mess. In how she acts, her mother is like Cinderella's dirty stepmother. Her dad drank all of my beer and took everything out of the fridge. From time to time, her brothers come over to speak for their parents. They pretty much smashed the place and then left us to clean it up. Where's my fiancée during this whole thing? Standing still in the corner and almost freezing. I'm not a fool. There's real pain. She hopes that they will like her and feel good about herself. Before any of you good people say something obvious, she has been going to therapy for years for this. I tried to keep things in check. I have been trying to get these jerks to leave for almost 2 years, but this is her house, and she won't let me decide who comes in, no matter how much money I give her. They have been hurting her feelings and mine for too long. She told me not long ago that she wants their praise, why they were right about her. What she should do to get better for their sake. I hope she takes the steps she needs to get better after too many emotional conversations full of tears and begging to count. She is an adult, though. I can't get her to do anything. While I love her, I can't help but dislike what she's doing. It breaks your heart to see someone you care about ruin their life for people like her family when they deserve so much better. It's been awful to see her cry herself to sleep too many nights because of them. I've tried too many times to help her get away, but I need to think about what will happen next. What will happen when we have kids? What will happen if she calls them over after giving birth? How would things go if one of us had a bad health emergency? What if we don't have enough money and they still want it? This is my in-laws' family from hell, and I can't stay away from them. I'll tell her tomorrow that I want to put off the wedding until clear limits are set. As soon as she gets mad, I leave. I'm done with it. I don't want to keep seeing such a slow death. Everything went as easily as it could have. I got an update and talked to her. I'm currently staying in a hotel for a few days, while I think about my long-term plans to move. Right now there's still a lot going on, but I hope to be able to put everything into one update by next week. July 1st, 2024. After I posted the first post, I chose to talk to my fiancée about her family that same night. So, when she got home from work early the next day and I was already off, I started the talk a little earlier than planned and basically told her that this arrangement would not work in the long term. It made me uncomfortable to marry her because her family is so involved in her life. And I also didn't feel good about having a child with them. I didn't want to tell her straight out that she couldn't talk to them, but I did want to be very strict about when they could come over and what they could do around the house. Before getting married, I also asked for couples therapy. She wasn't happy. She just stared at me madly while I talked, and when I was done, she yelled at me. She told me I didn't get how they worked together, which made her feel better. I told her that they are rude users who will take all of her money and never treat her with respect. She told me all she had to do was work harder so they would see her. I yelled at her and told her that a child of a parent shouldn't have to beg, plead, or work to be loved. When I finally told her that she sets limits for them, or I would leave, she got very angry, and since I was living in her house, I had to leave. It's been 2 days since I stayed at a hotel, and my things have been taken out and put away. Also, it's been really great. Around the middle of July, I'll be staying with family for a few weeks. After that, I'll look for a house on my own. Being able to come home from work to a quiet room without her family breaking the house apart has been a nice change of pace over the last few days. I've been watching films and playing video games I hadn't seen before. Yesterday, things got worse. I know that every Saturday her family comes over, and she uses me as a shield from their rage. We haven't talked much since she sent me away. I was being very greedy though, so I just turned off my phone and played Disco Elysian all day. I knew she would call me back to ask for help with her family. She was getting very angry at this point, and I had nothing to do with her stress. Over a dozen texts and 2 frantic voicemails asking me to come home were sent to me by the end of the night. I picked up the phone to go check on her. Long story short, she was crying in the living room. And when I walked up to her, she was hugging me and squeezing my back. Before I asked what had happened, I let her calm down. In short, her parents and brother came over to give her money and be mean to her. I didn't answer when she asked me to help, and when she tried to get one of her friends to help, everyone told her fuck that, and it all worked out for her. Before she kicked her family out, they said some very mean things to her that I won't say again. She told me she was sorry over and over and told me to go home. She knew I loved her and understood that it wasn't because she was abusive, but because of trauma. I told her straight out that I had been deeply angry at her for years and that we needed to talk about these big problems if we wanted to move on. 1. She moves after selling her house. Our salaries are pretty close to each other, and we want to buy a house together. As an adult man, I won't live in a house that I can't do anything with. The people in her family will never go there. They're not going to come over. I will treat them as dangerous if they try to come in groups of 3. She starts seeing a new doctor, and we start therapy before we get married. She never forces me to talk to her 5-person family. Right now we'll go LC with her family. But don't get the wrong idea, we are working hard to get her full NC. I told her that I loved her, that we had been together for a long time and made many wonderful memories, and that I knew she was being abused. These things are non-negotiable. And if she has a problem with any of them, we have to break up. It's been clear to her for a long time that her family is bad for her, and she wants to make changes. She said yes, but some of them might take a while to finish, so I'll stay at the motel until I get back to see my family. She's welcome to come over, but I've already made it clear that I don't want to go to her house. Tomorrow, both she and I are free, so we'll stay here and maybe go out. This isn't over yet, but I might not post anything else until around the middle of August. Update 2. July 6, 2024. Despite my best intentions to not update until much later in the hopes of improving my relationship with my fiancée and her setting boundaries with her toxic family, we have already split up. Essentially, after last weekend, when I left her to deal with them on her own, she looked to fully grasp the problem and was receptive to changes such as limits and a future move. We spent Monday and Tuesday hanging out at my hotel, where I was staying till I returned to my family for a few weeks. She was ambiguous in her texts the previous night when she was meant to come over. She showed up a lot later than planned, and I knew something was wrong when she started yelling at me about how I was abusive, controlling, very demanding, and not helpful. It took me 5 seconds to figure out that she was reading a message that her parents had written for her. I was really mad at this point, and even though I had a lot of money on her, I chose to be a jerk and ask her if her family had told her to say that. Even though Suo Ret said they gave it to her, she came up with the idea herself. I asked her to go into detail about what I did. She said I was like a bug that lived off of her. I told her that I pay half of her mortgage, her electricity bill, and her food. I pay for my own car. This job pays almost the same as hers, which is different from her parents, who want regular payments and raid the kitchen on the weekends. I told her to try again with something better, but she got angry and said I was trying to keep her from talking to other people. I gave her a smug grin and told her that I had always been there for her, even though she had broken up with many friends on her own, because no one wanted to deal with her family or be a shield like me. This is when I almost begged her to tell me why she was so set on ruining her life for these people. At that point, she was really raging and just yelled that I don't understand her family and that she's just trying to get their love back. Seeing it up close is really amazing. There are a few subreddits where I looked for different points of view. If you know about them, you'll understand how people who have been abused by their own family can be so badly hurt that it damages their mind so much that they think they are the problem and deserve the abuse. That's how she was. It was like she was broken and didn't want help. She wanted things to get worse, not better. The truth hit me like a truck. It made me feel stupid to try, even though it was the right thing to do every time. At this point, she was almost crazy, and I just wanted her to leave before the police showed up because I was mentally worn out. She left in the end, but some worried neighbors came to check on me. Some of her friends, no, because they sent me a message to find out what's going on. I told them the truth. I needed some time to myself to think about what to do next. After they told her they were worried about her, they said she had similar outbursts. Some people even said she might lose her job. It's clear that she needs a mental break. From what I can tell, she is now home alone. She is quickly falling into an unhappy life of being alone. As selfish as it sounds, I'm just glad it's over. There's nothing I can do to help her now. Change 3, July 9th, 2024. There were a few lost ends, but most things were wrapped up. I completely forgot to change my sending address, which I should have done right away, so some important mail ended up at her house. I had to go get them and some other things I needed for my move but had left behind but chose to take with me. I texted her about them, but she wouldn't answer, so I had to go get them from her in person. I brought a friend in case something went wrong. Luckily, she was accommodating enough to let me get my things back, so things weren't too bad. It seemed like she had a lot of bad things to say about everything else. She told me she was already having fun. She told me she was glad I was gone. She told me she was finally free and that she would be much better off without me. A lot of rude words and other bad things you'd expect from someone who just broke up with you. What do you know? The script was so fucking clear that it came from her family, and you could tell she was upset. She looked disorganized. Like she hadn't slept in weeks. The house was a mess. She didn't even yell it. She said it with a tired and broken voice. When she spoke, she didn't smile. Just a messed up face that was full of anger and hate. I no longer knew the woman I used to know. That person had already left when I was about to leave. She was still going. I got tired of it and said something like, "Congratulations. Your friends are gone, your human guards are no longer there. We are no longer engaged to you. There is no longer a need for your help. People who have ever been kind to you are no longer living. You and your family are the only ones there. I hope you're happy while they take all of your money." Most likely it didn't go exactly that way, but something like that. She did nothing. He did nothing but stand there and stare at me. As I left, he turned around and left. Tiffany, someone we both know, asked me if I was okay as we were leaving. I let her know I was okay and that I was just getting ready to go home next week. She also said she had heard that my ex-girlfriend lost her job because she didn't show up for work for several days and basically ghosted the company. They are planning an intervention next week and have asked me to join. I really want a break though, so I'm not going to put off my trip. I know for sure that if I stay linked, I will only see the steady fall towards either a full breakdown or suicide. I can't do it. Even with all of this, I'm excited about the future, and I've learned that I didn't see enough warning signs at the start. I am sure that I will be okay, even after everything that has happened. This should be the last report I give. I'll be in town until Sunday afternoon, so something might happen, but it won't be exciting. Change 4, July 18th, 2024. I'm back in my home state with my family, getting to know the place again. I've chosen to stay here for good, so I'm starting the long process of looking for homes in the area. I've been okay and enjoying time with family and friends. A few people who know my ex-fiancée have told me what's been going on and things look like they're getting better. The planned rescue was for Sunday, but after her family came to visit again on Saturday night, she called her friends in a rage and realized how bad she had been. She went to the emergency room because she was having a full-on panic attack and meltdown. She finally says that she is sad and that she has made a lot of mistakes in her life. It sounds like she tried to call me, but I had stopped her number. The news that she lost her job was not true. She still has a job. Unfortunately, she is barely able to keep her job, and her bosses have told her to take some time off to clear her head. That person is very useful, and they want to make sure she can get better before they fire her. Her group of friends is pretty close. It makes sense that her group is going to such great lengths to help her. My ex was a really helpful and caring friend. They all agree, though, that if she goes back to her old ways, they will all let her sink on her own. She's doing about as well as she should be. Her family has kept in touch with her through text messages and phone calls. They tried to go to her house but were strongly told not to by friends and neighbors. I hope she knows what kind of help she has available. As far as trashy shitshow family fights go, her parents and brothers have taken it to Facebook. From what I've heard, this has helped my ex because it has made their behavior public to more people and seems to have calmed them down for a while. One of the mutuals brought me a message from her. Basically, she told me that all the horrible things she told me were not true and were done by her family, just like I thought. She said she was sorry for how things ended and hoped we could get back together someday. I had to let her know that we had to stay apart for good because she needed to focus on her recovery. I told her I still cared about her and wished her the best, but this had to be our goodbye. The message seems to have been sent to someone else, and her friends are helping her figure it out. They still have a long way to go, but I hope she finds peace with my words, just like I do. They just try to use the "our daughter is ungrateful and cruel" card around close family and friends, but they get a lot of flack for it. Be careful with this because it's just something someone told me without any proof. As a response, people called one of the brothers' jobs and left bad reviews on their Facebook page, laying all of their dirty laundry out for everyone to see. Things don't look good for him. On the other hand, the unofficial top underscore put 1541. As family fights on cheap shit shows usually go, her parents and brothers have taken it to Facebook, but no lies have been found. I think it's great that the OP tried to avoid that shit show as much as possible. This woman would be much better off if she knew that the choices she makes have real effects and that she needs to do real, serious work on herself if she doesn't want those effects to happen again. Hi, FAR Season 695. I'm glad to hear that your ex-fiancée is getting the care she needs. My friend, I'm glad you're keeping yourself safe from this crowd. Keep going strong, and have a great trip home. 5. The 15th of August 2024. Since I got back home, I've been doing pretty well. Now that I'm living with my family while I look for a new place to live, all of my things got here safely. Setting up my job here, and I've been back at work for a week now. I sometimes come here to write and shitpost, but that's it. The situation has finally ended in the worst way possible, despite the best efforts of my ex's friends, and the friendship group is now broken. She killed herself. I learned almost everything I'm going to say last night. Her friends have helped her get back on her feet since I left. They went the extra mile by getting her out, setting limits with her family, and pushing her to get better therapy. Tiffany was there to help me the last time I talked to my ex-girlfriend in person. While they were hanging out at her place, Tiffany saw her getting close to her boyfriend, Daniel. This made Tiffany suspicious of her. She finally got her hands on her boyfriend's phone while he was sleeping and found very sexual texts they had sent each other while they were dating more than 5 months ago. I don't know when push turned into shove. It was clear that Tiffany lost it, because she told everyone. No one could have seen the shit show that came next. Daniel, Tiffany's ex-boyfriend, blamed Joseph, a friend, when he said Joseph helped Daniel cover for him. Joseph's lover then broke up with him and threw him out of her house. My ex-partner and 8 or 9 other friends almost all broke up, and Tiffany and Joseph's ex-partner are the only ones who still talk to each other. Also, while I was hearing this, I was told that even though I had been gone for a month, everything had happened in the first week. Right away, my ex-girlfriend lost all of her friends and family, and she was pretty much blamed for everything. This only made her mental health worse, which was already getting worse. Of course, everyone was interested in why she had hurt one of her best friends in that way. She just said the usual things about how close they were becoming, how he was a great support system for her, and how she had told her family about him, and they liked him more than I did. After I left her house to go to my hotel, she asked him over. According to her, her final goal was to leave me for him. But he wouldn't leave Tiffany for her, and he hated hearing about her family, so it was clear he wouldn't go for anything more than an affair. I thought I would be much more angry than I was, but I had already begun to move on. I had just finished a full physical check at my new doctor's office and was given a clean bill of health, which meant I didn't have to worry about that. And to be honest, it wouldn't help right now. I was told I wasn't told because, to be honest, no one knew how to surprise me that late, which makes sense. So, my ex was completely alone. Even Tiffany's ex-boyfriend, who just disappeared. There was a wall between her and the person who could help her. Tiffany didn't know why she had lost her job, she just spent all of her free time with her family. They finally won, and they left. It was found that she had killed herself in her home 2 nights ago. Her family members found her. One of her old neighborhood friends showed up when they got to her house. They didn't seem to care that her family was there. Tiffany called me late last night to let me know. There were other texts, and she asked nicely if I wanted mine to end things. To be honest, I have no idea what to do. I'm going through serious mental whiplash right now. I didn't know this woman. Over the last month, I've had to admit that she was abusive in the relationship because of how she treated me around her family. Now I see that it was all a plan to get me to leave so she could be with another guy that her family liked. Again, this makes no sense to me. What did he have that I didn't? Did they just want to cause her trouble? Was she really who she said she was? Was there something real about the people I spent years with? There is now solid proof for me that coming back here was the best choice I have ever made. I can start treatment to help me work through this problem, hang out with a group of people I can trust in real life instead of online, and get help from family nearby. But yes, this will bother me for a long time. The rude red dog one said, "Don't read the letter, it won't help you, let the therapist read it, and then put it in another package and seal it. Let them decide based on how you're feeling. When or if you should read it, or if you should burn it after reading it. I'm not going to deal with the letter or anything else that has to do with them. I need to move on with my life."